Hi, I'm Drew, a drag queen living in LA with my husband Curtis, my dog JB, and currently my mother-in-law Diane. Diane.
Diane. My name is Grant. I am a former pastor. I live in Florida with my wife, 4 children, and possibly still a broken bone in my arm. This week, Drew forces me to tell more about my story than I really wanted to. So thanks, I guess.
Yeah, there wasn't nearly enough crying. And I speak to my younger self and say, hey, you're okay.
You're okay, guy.
Enjoy the episode.
Or don't. Live your life.
Hi, I'm Drew, and I'm gay.
And I'm Grant, and I'm not. How are you, brother?
I'm good. I'm apparently way more awake than you are. And that is because I am drinking coffee out of your children's heads.
And that's a mug. And you slept 12 hours like a sloth.
I want everyone to listen to me and hear me good.
They are
I'm
listening.
probably the first person.
Podcast.
Well, first of all, this is a science podcast, and so you trust my opinion. But I'm probably the first
We have
person
glasses.
to tell you this. Yeah, we both have glasses on.
That's how you
One
can
of them
tell.
has frames or lenses, if you will. Okay, y'all, you need sleep. You need to sleep every night.
Hot take.
Yeah, hot take. So I have these sleep gummies, and I become
Those are the ones,
sort of,
whenever we visit, you try to give to my kids. Like when they've been
Yes.
talking to you too much. You're like,
Yes.
give these gummies. And we have to talk to them about Uncle Drew's special gummies.
it'll knock
Go
them out
ahead.
immediately. You have to sleep. So I have these gummies that are like, yes, they have a little bit of THC, but also like melatonin and all this like sleep stuff in it. And I have developed a lifestyle, let's say, where I could kind of do whatever I wanted during the day. And as long as I had a gummy, it would knock me out. So if I wanted to drink coffee at 3 p.m., maybe take my Adderall later in the day.
Okay.
It was
I thought
fine.
you were just saying, like, you're just doing rails of Coke, and then the gummies will knock you right out.
I'm not saying that. Anyway, I
Learn something?
ran out of gummies and I was like, oh, I'll be fine. Didn't sleep at all. And then the next day I was like, well, that's bad. You shouldn't be that dependent on gummies to sleep. So I spent
Yeah,
a
you
few
sound a
days
little bit like
trying-
Judy Garland.
Listen,
Little
you know how
Judy.
many times she threw those pills into the river? At one point,
And they
it
kept
took...
coming back.
No. June of 1969, she stopped taking pills.
Oh, here we go. Judy Garland lessons.
Because she died. I took a few days off of sleep gummies to try and like get myself right, and I think I've figured a few things out. But I got more sleep gummies last night, and I hadn't slept in like 3 days, not more than like a few hours at a time, and I slept 12 hours last night. And I don't think I'm gonna be mean today.
I think you are. I think it's deep inside of you, and no amount of sleep will change that. But also, you know, the Bible doesn't say a lot about homosexuality, regardless of what evangelicals
should.
and Darby
It's
would like you to think.
disgusting.
But you know what it does talk a lot about? Sloth. It talks a lot about sloth and laziness. Let me hit
Yeah.
you with some, Drew, next time you think about sleeping that much. Proverbs 19:15. Slothfulness casts into a deep sleep, and an idle person will suffer hunger. You want to be hungry? Hey, Drew, you want to be hungry? Keep sleeping 12
No,
hours.
I take Adderall. I'm not hungry ever.
Proverbs 20:13. Love not sleep, lest you come to poverty. Open your eyes, and you will have plenty of bread. Do you want more bread? Keep your eyes open. Because when you're asleep,
No, it gives me
the
a tummy
bread
ache.
comes knocking on the door. You're not there. Goes to the next house.
Can I?
Proverbs.
Okay. And let me give you
There's
something.
so many more
And let
of
me
these, but go
tell you
ahead.
something. And let
All
me
right,
tell
I'm
you
ready.
something.
Okay.
That book,
Yeah.
when it was written many, many times ago,
Many times ago.
eras,
4 some might say.
they couldn't be slothful because everyone had to do a task in order for everyone to survive. Okay, they didn't
They
have
had quests.
internet.
Yeah.
They had quests.
They had
they
daily
had to find
quests.
gold. No, but like if you were slothful, if one person didn't do their job, the whole village suffered. But now the village is fine. We need to rest.
Well,
Okay, they worked hard.
this
so that
feels
we
like
can
a very
rest.
privileged rant you're having right now.
It
Your
is.
village is fine. Your village is fine.
I meant the world in general. I meant the world in
okay,
general because
okay.
everything in the world is going really well right now, and I think we all just need to take a step back and go like this.
It's a great point.
I'm crossing my arms.
It's a great point. all the hurricanes that have come through, they're more powerful because
I haven't had one.
We've warmed up the oceans. And so it's really teaching us to be stronger because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. We're stronger.
Can I say that you
So,
were very
thank you.
dramatic about that hurricane, Grant? I mean,
Thank
now
you.
that it's all over, and you probably have one another
So
one coming
we
soon,
made it through the
you
hurricane.
were
We had
very dramatic.
That's not true. We had part of our fence fall down. That was it. It really wasn't a big deal. Drew was so scared. He kept checking on his border. He kept going, Grant, please weave. Please get out of your danger. And I was like, Drew, we're fine. We're going to be fine.
Okay.
We are
In
fine.
my defense, I was wearing
It's
my
not a big deal.
hurricane fedora. That was on me. I shouldn't have put that on. I
Please.
know how that affects me.
It
Secondly,
does change the way you speak.
I don't listen. You're gonna die, okay?
Okay.
But your
We
kids
all
are gonna
are.
live forever, okay? Your kids will never die, and so I didn't want them to have to live through that. So I don't
does
care
that
if
mean?
you drown in a hurricane, but we need to get the kids out because kids can't die. They're not allowed. It's against the rules.
They were
It's
fine.
against the rules.
Also, I didn't get hurt during the hurricane. I fell down the stairs before the hurricane. Update, my arm still hurts. Still haven't seen about it. Still straight. Another update, Jimmy Carter no longer understands facial expressions. So that's sad, but wanted you to know.
Stop. Kill
Also,
him.
we...
Y'all, listen. I know we're not supposed to assassinate former presidents, okay? No matter how hard
or
people try
current.
and are really bad at it. But we need to take him out. Them wheeling him out, and the fact that our episode came out that same day is not, it wasn't on purpose. But them
it truly-
wheeling him
it was
out
divine.
on his 100th birthday, he looked like a corpse. There's no way that whatever is inside that man's little brain, there's no way that that person, that soul is happy, okay?
It's just peanuts.
Smother him,
peanuts
give
in
him the
there.
sweet release of death. Did I ever tell you that
I-
story about...
I would like to take the opposite stance, just for the record. Keep him alive as long as we can. No matter what he says, no matter what he... Like, let's iron lung him, stainless steel lung him. We need
he's
him.
not saying anything. That's the problem.
Perfect.
Anyway.
Perfect. He consents.
But
let's do it.
This was a long time ago, but so my best friend / coworker Alexis is a mess.
Not familiar.
Her life is a mess. She's a mess. Everything she touches turns to mess. So, the thought of death is alluring to her at times. I can't remember where we were. Oh, I think we were on a cruise. That's it. We were on a cruise. We had gotten room service. Mine had a knife. Mine had a large knife. I had a really hard cantaloupe. I turned to her with the knife and I went, Alexis. And then she goes, oh, sweet release. She just opened her arms and put her head back. Like, go for it. It caught
She's
me
so
so
ready.
off guard. It caught me so off guard that I've never tried to kill her again because she wants it too bad.
Yeah, you
That
don't
takes
want
the
that.
fun
It
out of
takes all the
it.
fun out of it. Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, to circle back on the sleeping thing. Again, I just want to reiterate,
Sloth.
everyone, you have to sleep.
Not that
But
much.
a couple days ago, or like the second day of my non-sleep, I had a lot of work to do, and I take like a day, like I take an Adderall a day, and I was like, what if I take a second Adderall in the afternoon just to like, because I'm so tired, maybe
What
that'll
happened?
like wake me up. I
New
fell
dimension?
asleep. No, I fell
Why?
asleep. I took an Adderall. I waited. I started to feel, like you've done meth. I started to feel the like,
I'm in Florida.
da-da-da-da-da, we're working. And I was like, oh, thank God it's working. Boom. I passed right out. I slept for 2 hours. What's that?
Why? Did you Google it?
Medical emergency. I don't know. What
We
did you
should
about
ask
my friend
ChatGPT.
Kyle, who always acts as if he's on cocaine? Like he's always at a 10. And then we were at
Thanks
an
for
indoor
listening,
water
Kyle.
park rave. We went to an indoor water park rave. He's like, I want to try cocaine. And I said, no problem. We're at an indoor water park a rave.
Yeah.
There's plenty.
Just breathe deeply. It'll get in your body somehow. Yeah.
All of the lifeguards in this overnight indoor water park rave were teenagers, by the way. So we very easily find cocaine. And
Yeah.
this is before the fentanyl of it all. You should test your cocaine with fentanyl strips before
Please
you ever
test
do
your...
it.
And
No,
we
that's
actually
serious.
are
I'm very
selling
serious. Do
Twinnuendo
it.
branded strips.
This was years ago. I
visit our
no
shop.
longer do the cocaine, and I never really did it to begin with. I didn't understand what all the excitement was about. If anything, I would do Adderall for fun because that's meth. Anyway, but I'm like, okay, Kyle, here you go. I gave him cocaine. I was like, he is about to tear this room apart. He's going to be so fucking hyped up because he's always like this.
Nope.
Did the coke, went, I don't feel anything. boom, went to sleep. Slept all night. Explain
At
that.
the rave? At the
indoor
water
water
park?
park
At the
rave.
indoor water park?
I mean, it was like 3 a.m. at this point.
Yeah, but you're in an indoor water park. That is not conducive to sleeping. It is a cavernous, just awful
And there were like
echo
gangbangs
chamber.
happening all up and down the hallway, people screaming.
What? Gay
Grant,
men
let me tell you
hanging
about
out
this.
at a rave
Grant, let me tell you.
in
Let me say
a
this.
water park
Let me say this.
led to sex? Find that hard to believe.
Gay men
Yes,
shouldn't have rights.
you had me at gay. What?
We should not have rights. Gay men should not have rights. However,
I'm against your position. I want to support
we
you.
should have
but I can't.
gay marriage should be legal for lesbians and responsible queer people. Gay men shouldn't. But if we put that rule there, then the Congress would use that and be like, well, no gay people can get married. So we allow gay men, myself included, to have rights. But whenever we're given rights and someone steps back and says, let me take a look at how they're using those rights, we're gangbanging at indoor water park raves. It's not good. We don't deserve it.
I really can't comment on any of this as a straight man. So
Grant,
I support
can I say
you.
that is huge growth. Like truly, a couple years ago,
can't.
you would have commented. You would have commented on stage.
I can't comment on gay men and what they do with their bodies because after all, they're men. But women, let me tell you. No,
I'm worried about how y'all are using your bodies. We have it all figured out.
So Drew, we went to Disney the other day with the kids.
Wow.
And
Brag.
let me tell you something we experienced there. I watched this YouTube guy. He does these, they're called atheist audits, where he goes to churches and he audits the service, and he says like, well, I was greeted, they were nice, the music was terrible, or the sermon was very cultish or whatever. And he just he tries to pick like different sects and denominations that are unique in their own ways. So, and then he like tries to explain like, oh, this is what makes this one different from this other one. And it's actually really good. I really like it. He's not an asshole. He's trying to be respectful, but he did an episode recent. Well, I don't know if it's recent. I saw it recently on Jehovah's Witnesses. He watched all of their videos on people who are disfellowshipped, or they call it removed from the church. So if someone is a Jehovah's Witness and they have like sinned, then they have to go to like whatever their level of sin is. Like you're not going to be kicked out of the church for lying, but you may be kicked out of the church for lying on your taxes. You know what I'm saying? Like you may get kicked out of the church.
Isn't all sin the same to God?
Yeah, it's supposedly, but the Jehovah's Witness, they have their own little bar. So if you go before the leaders of that church because of some egregious sin or whatever, they can disfellowship you. And there's different levels to that disfellowship. One is you're allowed to come to the church, but they have videos on what to do if someone who's disfellowship shows up. That person has to identify themselves. Like they have to introduce themselves and be like, hi, I'm Grant. I'm disfellowshipped positive or whatever. And so they have to identify, and then they're told they can greet them, but they can't have a conversation with them, and then they have to go sit by themselves, which is very funny. The other one is complete cutoff. And so he talks to people whose family members, shunned them and whatever. And so they can't talk to them at all and whatever. Anyway, I watched that. Then we went to Disney World with the kids, and we ran into 2 staff members of my former church.
Hell yeah, brother.
And they shunned the shit out of us.
Hell yeah, brother.
So the first one was with a friend of ours. The friend comes. I wasn't standing there. I was somewhere else with one of the other kids. But the friend comes over to talk to Angela.
I wasn't standing there, so it didn't hurt my feelings. I was on Space Mountain.
And then that person turned their back to my wife and children and put their head down. Like completely shunned. And then later we got in line and they were directly in front of us. Not the same person. It was a different staff member. Directly in front of us. And once they saw us, I don't want to put anyone in an awkward situation. So I wasn't going to be like, "Hi," because they're not allowed to talk to me. So I'm not trying to fuck with them. They saw us and then would not turn around. Like their daughter kept getting behind them, and they wouldn't turn around to talk to they would just grasp, like they're in the front seat of the car, and grab their kid and pull them up. It doesn't feel good to be shunned, for sure. Even if you don't respect those people, even if you think they're pieces of garbage, obviously it doesn't feel good to be shunned. The part that is really insidious and the part that's like really pissing me off is like you shunned my kids too. You can't shun us without shunning them. Like they knew these people. One of the people was their children's minister. They knew her. They knew her daughter. And she wouldn't let the daughter come talk to my kids. So you're shunning them. So like when my kids see that, they don't say, oh, they don't want to talk to dad or they don't want to talk to mom. They say they don't want to talk to us. And I have to keep saying, no, they didn't do this to you. They did this to me and they're doing it to mom. And because they're thoughtless and they're hateful towards us, they're not thinking about you as well. I know it's rude, but it's thoughtless. They're not coming after you. No one hates you. No one's mad at you. You've done nothing wrong. Your mom did. She's done all of it. I'm actually innocent in all this if you think about it.
I know. I've been very... we need to eventually talk about what Angela did, but we'll cover that on
for
Patreon,
real.
I'm sure.
So anyway, just wanting everyone to know, are Christians cool now? They're still not. They're still not. They're shunning my children. They try to make me and my wife feel bad, which is fine. But now they do it to my kids.
This is why I'm pro-life. And thank you for bringing it up. This is why I'm pro-life, because...
I was hoping we'd get here,
Not only do we need to get the babies out of the whores, okay? We need to make sure they survive that whore's womb.
Right.
But then,
of course,
if those babies' parents make a mistake or do something we don't agree with, the kids must be punished. And if they weren't alive, how would we punish them? If they weren't alive, how do we punish them?
Come on. Yep.
Listen.
Come on. Say it again.
Your kids did it. Okay? They survived a whore's womb. Therefore,
That's right.
They
live in a whore's
punished.
house. They live in a whore's house
Exactly.
now.
Well, that sounds fun. I love the church, the protect the children, all of that. Unless the children's parents said something we didn't like, and then like fuck those kids. That's Jesus in a nutshell.
There's so many other things. I'll go ahead and say it because fuck them. When we got fired, my kids were signed up to go to the summer camp with their friends, like church camp. And the church, because I was on staff, the church was going to pay for it, like because it's very expensive. As you know, churches make a lot of money, and so do church camps. And so, like, my kids were all signed up. They were ready to go. They were very excited. Well, the camp wasn't until like a week after I got fired, or 2 weeks after I got fired, or something. They pulled my kids off the trip. They canceled their trip, and they didn't tell us either. We actually had someone, like, we were talking to somebody, and they were like, "Are your kids still going?" We're like, yeah, of course they're going. Like, they have nothing to do with us. Like, my kids didn't do anything wrong. They're going with all their friends. They're excited. And the whole thing that the church was saying was like, they're fucking us over so that we'll repent or something. I don't know. So, like, they want my kids to know Jesus and go to church and love Jesus. So why would they not want my kids to go, especially if their dad's such a fuck up? Like, and so they go, well, you should probably check. And I was like, nah, that's bullshit. So a friend of mine checked. Sure enough, they had pulled them off the trip, and they didn't tell us. So I don't know. I guess we were just going to show up with our kids, and then they were going to tell our kids there's no space for them. It was
no room.
They're cool,
for
man.
your little kids. No room for something, but room for
all of
other
them.
things.
No room for Jesus. In the
That
world
song
today.
slaps. I don't give a fuck. Is that a song that our megachurch wrote? It
No.
belongs to Bellevue.
No.
Oh,
No.
go
No,
listen
that's
to
a-
No Room. It's such a
Yeah.
good Christmas song.
It
And it's
really
all about
is.
how they don't have room, so that
They don't
whore
have
has
room
to
for
give
Jesus.
birth in the state.
Actually, so Drew, I hope I'm not projecting or making something up.
you are.
I think the lyrics of that is there's no room. It's like a Christian nationalist thing. There's no room for Jesus in the world today. So it's like there was no room for him then, and now we live in a country that has no room for him now. So I don't think it's just a Christmas song. I think it's also a Christian nationalist song. That's pretty
Yeah, but
cool.
it's their favorite Christmas song. Can
Yeah.
I circle back just for a moment to, because you started this whole thing on a Jehovah's Witness journey.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot of interactions with the witnesses of Jehovah, but the most
don't go to the airport?
heartbreaking.
They're always at the airport.
Where?
Have
My
you
bag
ever
is
seen
clean.
them? They have portable brochure stands. Have you not seen
Oh,
them?
bless their hearts. Oh, I didn't know that's what they were.
So that's the Jehovah's Witnesses because the Watchtower, which is primarily like a printing company, because they print Watchtower material, and the goal of a Jehovah's Witness, they're not judged on conversions. Like how many people are you getting to believe? They're judged on how many of those brochures they get in people's hands. That's why they're not a-holes in the airport. That's why they're not chasing you down. One, I don't think they'd let them. They're just there to be like, you want a brochure? Because if they give you a brochure, they win. Like they did it. They did their part. Anyway,
I like
so
an
that's Jehovah's
easy.
Witnesses.
Listen, you can't accomplish a complicated, complex goal until you accomplish a bunch of little goals. And I like
Okay.
that system. They're like, hey, just get the brochures in the hand. Get the brochures in the hand.
Maybe you should be a Jehovah's Witness. You don't like needles. They don't
Well,
do blood transfusions.
let me tell you,
Couldn't
I
celebrate your
hate
birthday anymore.
I hate transfusing my blood. Ugh, trans
Yeah.
rights, but not my blood. No,
Stay out of
when I was
my
a teacher,
veins.
my first teaching job, I was a middle school teacher in Louisville, Kentucky.
Right,
And
go ahead.
my second year teaching, I had the twins, a boy and a girl. And the boy was
lame.
in one special ed class, and the girl was in my special ed class. God, their mom was a mess. When I got all of their files from their elementary school, it was just like red flag parent, red flag parent. Like she was a
Like
woman
what?
who constantly in need. Like she couldn't hold down a job. She was constantly moving into one boyfriend's house into another. Like those kids had met 10 different daddies. Like she didn't
She's
have her shit
unstable.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And but when they got to my school, she had met a new man, and that man was a Jehovah's Witness. So suddenly they were Jehovah's Witnesses. Now they are in 6th grade.
That's a
both of
hard
them have
turn.
and both of them have significant cognitive disabilities. We weren't allowed to celebrate their birthday. If we did any holiday related anything, which in public school, like in December, we do a bunch of holiday stuff. They had to leave the room.
Nothing will make your kids love church more than taking all the
Right?
fun things out of their lives.
But
Hey, you guys
trying
love Christmas? Not anymore.
Well, and it also felt so insane because based on her history, they weren't going to be Jehovah's Witnesses for long. So this would just be like a really painful year for these kids. And for what?
What happened?
And-
Did they stay in it?
Well, I got in, I don't know. I left teaching I left Kentucky after that year.
Oh, you
I think the
abandoned
whole
them.
state exploded. What was so sad was their birthday. Their birthday was in October. We couldn't celebrate their birthday, and she kept asking me about it. Why isn't mommy giving me a birthday gift? And I was like, oh my God.
Did you do
So-
something? Did you do something you weren't supposed to? Did you celebrate her birthday?
I did.
Please tell me you
I
did.
did.
Okay.
I did, but not her birthday. It was the holiday stuff. So, especially for my
So her
population-
birthday, you were like, whatever, kid, get over it, grow up, toughen
Well,
up.
it's one day. But when the holidays came around, especially for my kids, because I taught kids with severe disabilities, so a lot of what we worked on was life
Okay,
skills.
Drew. Okay, you're better than all of us. Okay, go
I
ahead.
am. I've never, ever claimed not to be. So holidays were a big deal because a lot of it was teaching about what they see out in the world and how to navigate that and why are these decorations up now and wait, they suddenly are going to disappear. That's scary, explaining all that. So we did a lot of holiday stuff. And for the first couple weeks of the holiday season, I tried to keep her separate. I would plan lessons for her in the back of the classroom. I would just keep her away from everything. I know. It was super sad. And then eventually, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was like some sort of life skills lesson. We probably we had like a full kitchen and stuff. So we probably baked cookies or something. And I let her eat a cookie. She told her mom. I got a very angry phone call from the mother about disrespecting her religion and blah, 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 blah. And
Well, your religion's stupid.
right?
I would respect
But then
it, but it's
so then the
very
entire
stupid.
rest of the holiday season, And then into the next year, including, Valentine's Day, anything like that, that girl was miserable. She was absolutely miserable. And there was nothing I could do. And I felt so horrible for her because she genuinely didn't understand it. Like, she didn't have the cognitive ability to understand why it's happening.
Yeah,
And
neither do any
I
Jehovah's
tried.
Witnesses, to be quite honest.
Well, she brought the first day of school, she brought in, there's like a book, like a brochure, if you will, to give to teachers. So teachers teaching kids, like Jehovah's Witness kids. I read through that book with that little girl so many times. I tried to like come up with activities to help explain it. Like, I tried so hard, and she just never understood. Anyway, I think Kentucky broke off and is floating in the Atlantic
So the good
Ocean
news,
now.
the good news is she has had so many problems with commitment that she's hopefully moved on from the Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah. I mean, the good news
That's the
is
good
her mom
news.
is such a mess that she definitely fell out of that one.
So
And now
can we
she's
talk?
a Scientologist.
That's got to be better. Let's be honest. If you're
They have a
culting,
boat. They have a
you
boat.
got Tom Cruise. To just give my very limited knowledge and probably not accurate knowledge of Jehovah's Witness.
Great.
Witnesses. Basically, the guy who started it, it's very recent. It was like 20th century. And the guy who started it, as all cults and sects usually start, is God spoke to him and nobody was doing it right, so he's going to do it right. So when they come to your door and they're bringing their Bible, if you're an idiot like me and you try to have a conversation with them about the Bible, because you're like, oh, we'll just use the Bible and we'll show you what you're saying is crazy. They'll be like, oh, no. Your Bible is wrong. We have to use our Bible. And so they change certain things to like match exactly what they believe. And what's always the main thing that they're about is the end of the world. That's Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, that's all they're
Isn't
focused
that all
on
religions?
is the end of the world. Yeah, to some extent. But I mean, like, this is truly all you're doing is you're getting ready for the end of the world. So they believe that 144,000 people will get to go to like heaven with God, and everyone else will be on the
Why
new
that
earth.
number?
They pull it out of Revelation, and that's how they interpret it. Is that like, so the scriptures say that God's going to keep a remnant for himself, and it gives that number, which has some sort of like Hebrew numerology meaning, but if you translate it literally, you could say something stupid like only 144,000 would go to heaven. What's always been interesting to me is it's only 144,000 of the best of Jehovah's Witnesses. So how does that really incentivize you to convert somebody? Because I don't want you to take my spot. Like, okay, I'll still be on the new earth, but I don't get in the new heaven if you end up being better than me. So
That's
like,
why
I'll
they only
give
you brochures. That's
I'll
why
give
they
you
give
the
you
brochure.
brochures.
I'm not recruiting you because like you may be better than me. So fuck that. But yeah, they're wild. On the heels of the Jehovah's Witness stuff, on the heels of us getting to experience our shunning again.
On the heels of love.
Almost 18 months after I've been fired, I'm still being shunned in public. So that's fun.
Grant, to be honest, though, you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything to deserve it. Just like a little.
I didn't. My whole point in all of this has been, even if everything they said was true, like everything that they said, let's say that I was a wolf in sheep's clothing, let's say that I was doing all of the things that they said I did, justify your response. Okay. I fucked you guys over. I fucked over my staff. I fucked over my own family, whatever. Fine. Say all the things you want to say. When you think about the way you responded to me, did you show me grace? No. You called public meetings to talk shit about me and to expose my wife in front of everybody and to embarrass her and to shun her, and you shunned my children, and you told everyone to abandon us. You did all of this, and then they've never spoken to me about it. They told everyone that I needed to suffer, which sounds a lot like Jesus, but I needed to suffer so that I would repent. And so
Do you
no
think
one's
you'll
checked
ever
to
tell
see if
that
I did.
story? Do you think you'll ever tell that story? I know you're not ready yet.
Like what happened?
Yeah, we just get a lot of comments about it, and I want people to know that we're seeing the comments, but we're not ready, right?
Yeah, I think I certainly will. Yeah, I've had a couple of things that have held me back from telling the full story. One is, as you can tell when I talk about it, it's still very raw. When I was talking to my therapist about it, I said, hey, it's been over a year. Why am I still so upset about it? Like, why do I still get so fucked up about it? You know, like I'm on medicine. Everything's fine. My life's moving forward. I don't want anything to do with them. Truly, I'm much happier outside of the church than I ever was inside. So what's going on? Why am I, you know? And she's like, you're on a 3 to 5 year healing journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's been a year, but you're not even halfway through the shortest amount of time it could be.
Yeah.
So I think that's one is I'm very, very raw still. It affects the way I tell the story. What I mean by that is when I look back on my 17 years of the church, I can't see anything good. And I know that's not true. You know what I mean? Like I know it's not true. So I know that, I don't know, telling the story now would be very emotional, very raw. And I don't know if it would even be true.
Accurate.
I don't mean that I would deny responsibility or, you know, just straight up make something up. I don't mean that. But I mean, like, I'm so raw and jaded about it. I don't know. I don't know if my retelling would be anything valuable right now.
That's fair. And, you know, one thing that I've been very nervous about that I don't mind being candid about here is I think we made it clear in our last episode how money driven the church is. And this church in particular, I really fear a legal backlash. You know,
Yeah.
No,
It's
I'm
true.
serious.
Yeah.
I do.
I know. Yeah.
I think they clearly show that like their morality is off and they don't care about hurting people and all they care about is money. And listen, if they can get a dime out of us because they can quote unquote prove that what we're saying is false because they can all lie at the same time. Like it just makes me nervous. I will say though, the best thing to come out of that church is the t-shirt you gave me. It is my favorite makeup shirt. I love it with all of my heart.
What is the t-shirt?
It's just like says the name of the church, like in a circle, gray. It's a gray t-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
I put it through the first time I put it through the wash, it came out with a giant hole in it. And I don't know why. And so I was like, oh, well, I'll just kind of like make it a makeup shirt. And I further ripped the collar to give myself room to do more makeup, whatever. Anyway, it's like the perfect makeup shirt. I've actually cut other shirts to look like that shirt. That shirt. Yeah. And that was God.
God gave you that. God gave you that shirt.
Right?
And it's a sign. He's like, I want to rip this church apart to lift up the gay community.
Or he wants to see my nipples.
So yeah, that's why I haven't shared my full story yet. I don't know if I'm ready to tell it.
No, I didn't say that to push you. I just wanted people
I don't feel pushed.
To know that we are aware that we haven't said the story and
I don't feel pushed. You're pretty iron deficient. You're not very strong. But
I do take an iron supplement.
I know,
oh my
God. You should double
Thank you.
But no, yeah, but I definitely want to. I certainly want to. And we will. We'll find a way to tell it in its entirety. In fact, we had friends I haven't seen in years who came in town this past week, and we went out to breakfast with them, and they listened to Twinnuendo actually, and want to join our
friends.
Patreon and support us and all
patrons.
that. They're great. They're wonderful people, but we haven't seen them in forever. We were kind of sharing our story with them, like what we've been through. I just kind of got into it thinking I'm just telling a story that I've told 1,000 times, because I've told the story a lot to people that are close to us. I wasn't expecting emotionally what happened, like just telling the story, thinking like, oh, we're having a good time, we're laughing, let me tell you about this, and I'm just like, my face turns red, and I'm just like, I'm so furious on the inside. And then Angela's sitting over here like crying, and I'm like, okay, well, this wasn't a good idea. So yeah, so it's just raw. It's raw, and I appreciate everyone's curiosity, because I know behind the curiosity is like support, like love and support. I know that's why you want to know the story, is because you care about us. So I appreciate that.
I 100%. Like I'm not saying that my experience is the same as yours, but I do find it so bizarre that I was also forced out of a toxic situation that I thought was like my family. Like I thought that's where I belonged in Chicago. and just how incredibly painful it was, and like and the gaslighting, and it was just horrible. Truly, I know I've said this before. The raw emotion was still there for almost 2 full years. Like I would talk about it. I could joke about it because that's how I deal with everything.
Oh yeah, I tell jokes about it all the time. But if I'm
But
telling
there's
the story like
exactly.
a linear story,
Exactly. Yeah. It just wasn't something I was able to. So I just think it's so strange that we had in our own worlds, gay bar and church, we had these toxic places that
yeah.
forced us out.
And I think too, like, and Drew, I'm sure this happened for you as well, and I'm sure this happens to everybody who goes through some sort of trauma like that. The further out I get from it, not only hopefully will my emotions, subside, but also like I'm gaining more perspective. And what I mean is the people who did the worst to my family earlier days, all I understood about them was they're monsters. You know what I mean? Like, why did they do this to me? They're monsters. And that's just not true. They've done monstrous things, and there's parts of them that are hideous, as there are in all of us. But honestly, like now I'm understanding more of the context of what happened. Like I understand that when I look back on the first meeting I had with them, when they called me in to throw accusations at me, I first looked at it as like, oh, they smell blood in the water, and they're predators, and they want to destroy me, and it's personal. And now I look back on it and I listen to some of the things they said, and I realize, oh no, they were afraid, because in the previous 12 to 18 months, multiple very prominent mega churches in our area had scandals, like public scandals, and had fallen apart. So pastors had affairs, pastors had stolen money, churches had just split. They were terrified that that's what was happening here. In fact, one of the first things that one of those senior leaders said to me when they called me in to throw these accusations at me was, "You're wrecking everything I've built." That's what he said. He wasn't asking a question like, "Hey, what's going on? Like, I've heard these things. Can you give me some, like, is this true? Are these, like, what's going on here?" No. The main concern he had was, "You're threatening what I've done." And again, and he even said, all these other churches in our area have like fallen apart. It's not going to happen to mine. It's not going to happen to what I've built. So now I have more context. I'm like, oh, okay. Yes, still not a good person. But what was driving him was not, he didn't wake up one day and was a monster. There's some other insecurities in him, that all these other things happened in the world around him, and he reacted the way he reacted. And it just helps me understand him a little bit better. He's not like a movie villain anymore. He's like a regular villain, Like he's like a novella
I appreciate
villain.
that, and I appreciate I appreciate the grace you're willing to show him in the face of all of this. I will say that he could still possibly be a monster, because I think the reason he had such an incredible reaction to that fear is because that's what he deals in, except he's the one pushing the fear on other people. He controls his congregation through fear, and he's not used to having that pushed on him. Like, I'm just saying, like, yeah, in that situation, I know that you can see the humanity in his reaction, but let's not push away just the absolutely, let's be honest, monstrous ways he lives his life and what he does to other people.
I guess what I'm saying is, I'm certainly not excusing.
You're going back to the church. I knew it. This is the end of Twinnuendo.
This is our last Twinnuendo. It's our final Twinnuendo. If I threw away all my Bibles, Carmen, could someone mail me yours if you have one? And Carmen's here. Carmen's dead. Remember?
What?
Carmen died. He had cancer. He died last year, 2 years ago. Are you okay?
Wait, really? Have
Carmen
we talked
died.
about this? No, we didn't.
I thought we did when we talked about Carmen, when we first introduced the world to Carmen. Yeah, he's dead, dude. Carmen died.
Oh.
You know what, Drew? Now I get it. You know how mom is never happier than when she tells someone that someone's died? Now I get it. That felt good.
People die.
Oh, that felt so good.
Me and Michael,
Yeah, who
that's our
else
whole
has
thing.
died?
When a celebrity dies, it's who can text the other one first.
Hey, speaking of Christian
you know
artists.
who he looks like or looked like? The guy that was married to Shamblin. the weight loss Christian woman. They died in the plane crash.
Oh, yes.
He played
Yes.
Tarzan.
Yeah, he
Carmen
drove and
and
he
that guy
flew the
looked a
plane
lot alike.
into
And
the
they probably
water.
look a lot alike now.
Oh,
Because
I
they're
bet
both
they do.
dead.
You know, gay Pastor Grant that I talked to for our Twin 10 episode? He knows Ray Boltz's daughter. You know Ray Boltz?
No
He was
way.
a big...
Yes, of course.
Yeah, thank you for giving to the Lord.
Gay.
And now he's
Gay.
gay, and he's still
Gay.
making music. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was like, I was like, please tell her that I said that her father made a huge impact in our church's life. And I'm very happy that he's happy now. So anyway, isn't that cool? Little comment. What if we got Ray Boltz on here? What if we could interview Ray Boltz?
Do you think he's a bottom?
Oh, why are you the way that you are? So I
Thank you
to put
for giving it in my butt.
Oh, I said Lord, you said butt. Lord of the butt.
Ray Boltz,
Nimrod.
Lord of the butt.
Ray Boltz, Lord of the butt. So to put a period on this, yes, I think that I'm no psychiatrist, psychologist, sociologist, any other gists. I do think that the person we're talking about certainly has narcissistic traits. I don't know if he's a narcissist. I believe he is, but I don't have any whatever. I still think even for someone who did so much wrong to my family and has done so much wrong to other people, I don't know. For me, I blew him up into a boogie monster. And one of my friends this entire time has been telling me, like, no, you don't understand. Like, he's a mess. Like, he's below you. And you have, because I would have this internal fear even talking about him to other people. He's like, no, he's not. You're making him more than he is. And so I guess that's what I'm saying is getting context and going, oh, okay, he was motivated by fear. He was motivated by, whatever his selfish motivations were. It just helps, I don't know, it helps like bring the boogeyman down to just a regular shitty man.
Sure.
Yeah, just a booger man.
No,
From a boogeyman to a booger man.
I can absolutely relate because something that I tell people a lot, because the bar, we call her Bar Redacted because as they were gaslighting.
Do you know how many
and firing
people
me-
have searched for Bar Redacted in Chicago because of
I
you?
know.
So many people have
Well,
been
when people
looking for
find
Bar
out
Redacted.
what the actual bar is, because it's a really large, successful bar,
and
nothing
we've said it
can ever hurt
on
it.
the podcast.
I always tell people go, because people will say, like, people will go, I think it's so sweet, but people will visit Chicago and they'll go stand outside and they'll like middle finger and like, DM me the picture.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm not mad at the business. I'm not mad I loved the people I worked with. I love all the bartenders and the barbacks and the security. They're all wonderful. It really was, in my view, this overreaching, this is going to sound insane, this overreaching DJ, stay with me.
It's always the DJs.
He had a more managerial position than DJ, but he was mainly the DJ. He was the monster in my mind that I had built up to this, larger than life kind of, oh God, he's gonna show up here and confront me, or I built him up, and it truly wasn't until I had space away that I was able to reflect and realize, like, he's such a loser. Like, he's such he is though. Like, he's such a bummer. And everyone that worked with him, everyone hated him. Everyone looked down on him. Just like what a loser. But in my mind, like right after all that happened, he was holding all this power, and I was like, what can I do to please him and whatever? No, he was a fucking mess. He is a mess. And that was just the easiest. Yeah, so I get it. I get the conflation.
Yeah, and it's crazy too when you're stuck in those situations, and I'm sure anyone who's worked for a bad boss knows exactly what I'm talking about, where it does feel like they run the world and you excuse things because you have to. Like, if I'm going to continue to be here, I'm just going to have to get along and go along. And now being separated from it, it's like you just said about the DJ. When I look back at one of my bosses, he's really a sad person because the people around him they're around him to insulate him from his own awfulness. Like, I can't tell you how many times people apologized for him. How many times people, like, he's managed because he's such an infant and he'll throw these fits. There's a person on staff who that's what he does. He kind of manages, like, you don't talk to him directly. You go talk to this other person, and they tell you, "Yeah, I'll get it to him," because he's so
Like a
volatile.
king.
I mean,
Yeah.
one of the things I think that really shows his character, and it shows anyone's character, to be quite honest, is how you treat wait staff. How you treat service industry people. And he was always an asshole to service industry people. Always. There was one time we were at one of these resorts, for our pastor retreat to write sermons. It's a huge resort, and it's a convention center too. And we would like, eat lunch or whatever, and then we would go work for a few hours, but we would go in the convention center because it was always empty when we were there. It just happened that way. And they had a lot of nice little seating areas over there that were quiet and tucked away. So we would just go over there. Well, a medical convention, I believe, was in town, and they had rented the whole facility. So when you go over to where it turns into the convention center, there's an employee there who's asking you for your credentials. Are you with the convention? Like, because you have to have a badge on. And so and we're all behind him, he's like, no. And he just keeps walking. And she's like, sir, I'm sorry. Then you can't be here. They rented it out. And he proceeds to pitch a fit and say how much money we've spent here, and we come here all the time. He dropped the name of someone he knows. Oh, I know Deborah or whatever. You know what I mean? And so
you didn't tell me he knew Deborah.
He does that whole thing and talks to her like she's an idiot. And I am like, you know what it was like, Drew? It was like us when Dad would flip out in public, and we can't go anywhere. And we're kind of stuck with him. So if he storms off, we have to storm off. Like, we have to. And so he is just dismantling this woman. Just such a fucking asshole. So he finally ends up just barreling past her. And he's like, well, you guys got to figure it out. Like, if I'm not supposed to be here, you guys got to figure it out. And just barrels past. And I'm just standing there like, what the fuck do I do? And so the woman, like, moves out of the way, like, because he's going to go his way. So we follow him, and the whole time I'm like freaking out. So there's someone that's been on staff the whole time, like almost since the beginning of the church. But I'm just talking to him, I'm like, this is fucked up. I can't handle this. This is fucked up, and I'm furious. So we sit down in a place we're not supposed to be, and he just moves on, because that's what narcissists do, right? Like, he just like whatever, fuck that person. Let's talk about Jesus. And I'm just like, I've got my head down. I'm pissed. I'm just this fucking crazy. Security shows up. They called security on the pastors because the pastors were the threat. So security shows up, and I'm like, thank God he's here. So I just start packing everything up. Like, I'm wrapping other people's computer cords up. Like, I'm like, guys, get the fuck out of here. So he comes over, and of course he pitches a fit to whatever. And so and I don't wait for him at this point. I just walk. I don't want to be around him. I'm furious. And so one of the staff members had to come, like, talk me off the ledge, because I was headed to my car.
You were on a ledge?
I was like, I'm out of here. I can't deal with this. But that's how he treated service people. That was not an isolated incident. Like, if we went to a restaurant, I can't tell you how many people I went and apologized to on his behalf. Like, how many people I would go behind him and be like, I'm so sorry. He's a fucking asshole. Like, you did nothing wrong. I hope you have a great day. Like, he's the worst. And that really reveals a lot about a person, is how they treat the service staff. And that's how he treated them. And what's crazy is when you're in that, you never think they would treat you like that. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's because you're doing so much work to stay on their right side, on the good side, that you're like, okay, well, I'm on the good side. Like, okay, I know he can decimate people, but I'm on the good side. Like, I'm fine. And you know what's crazy is other pastors left, and he talks shit about them constantly. And again, in my head, I'm like, if I ever leave, he won't talk shit about me. Like I've been
and
a good little soldier.
Isn't that great? Isn't it good to know?
Wow. Oh man, yeah. So anyway, I don't know. There's some ranting and venting for the podcast. We're not getting to the topic I had for today, so we'll save that for another time. You want to do a voicemail?
Do you have a voicemail? Yeah.
I do. So this voicemail, Drew, doesn't actually have a question, but I think it brings up a good question. So I'm going to ask you two questions.
Does it have a compliment?
Probably. Most voicemails
good.
do. No one's called in and been like, you guys fucking suck.
Although if you did, that would be iconic. So someone
really- and
please tell us what
we
you
would
hate
play
about it.
Ooh, but don't be real. I can't handle it.
No. It would destroy
No,
us.
I can't. It would destroy. We can't handle it. No. Be funny, but don't
please.
be real. We can't. We're very fragile. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
And away we go.
Hey guys, I am loving your podcast. I'm an ex-Baptist preacher's wife. We went to seminary at Southwestern.
Name dropper.
I left my husband and divorced the church and all of it about 15 years ago. But listening to y'all talk about Carmen, it just kills me. It just
Rest in
makes me
peace.
laugh so much. But it made me think of, also talk about Mark Lowry. We saw Mark Lowry in concert and saw Michael English in concert. Oh my gosh, I was in love with Michael. We named our second son after Michael English, and Michael the Archangel, of course.
The best of all
Thinking
of
about,
them.
do you remember Watch the Lamb, the writer of Watch the Lamb, and how that song became a musical and all the churches were doing it? And then he came out gay and, the church just turned on him so quickly, even though, it's like at one point he's like so close to God because he'd written all this music. And then also I was thinking about Stephen Curtis Chapman. I haven't heard you mention him yet.
He's great.
The one that taught us how to rap when he wrote the song with Toby from DC
Mac,
Talk, and they had
who my
the
wife
rap
worked
song.
for.
And it was terrible. It was so terrible. But that's what that's what rap music was. So anyway, I'm enjoying the podcast, even though I'm constantly gasping because I'm an ex-Christian and still deconstructing, and some of the things y'all talk about, I'm just like, oh my gosh, are they really saying that out loud? But it's cool. I love it. Keep doing it. You're doing a good work. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention that
This is
one of the reasons I left my husband was because he is gay. He won't come out as gay. He is remarried, found a wife on Christian Mingle almost immediately after I left because, Baptist preachers can't be single.
It's true.
But everybody knows it. He doesn't act on it, but I would love nothing more than for him to live his true self. So there you go. Have a good day.
So,
oh my God.
Before I get
she
to
didn't
the
say
question,
her name.
She just called herself ex-pastor's wife. Drew, here's my question. So I actually reached out to this person, and now I realize I still don't have their name. I'm not
You
a
reached
good
out
person.
to her and you still don't know her name?
I
Brilliant.
texted her to talk about. I just told her how much her voicemail meant and how much I appreciated it, and I think it might be interesting to have a conversation with her, like I did with Pastor Grant. I think that could be interesting. So
loved her.
She also, one of the things she told me via text was that shortly after she left
other women. Interesting.
Shortly after she left the church, her daughter came out as trans. So she has a trans daughter now.
Good for her.
And so she was saying, I think that's one of the reasons I left when I left, because I can't imagine what it would have been like to be in that environment and have my daughter, try to present, come out as her daughter. Talking to Pastor Grant, the gay Pastor Grant, he hid a lot of who he was for a long, long time. This woman's talking about her husband is still doing it. And so recognizing privilege. I recognize that I haven't really had to do that. And so what is the cost of that, of hiding yourself like that? What is the cost to her husband of trying to be something that you aren't? What is that?
First of all, it's a beautiful question. Thank you so much for that question. Mm-hmm. I think growing up in this religion, being told that this part of just, it's who you are, like you, as much as you want to believe it's a choice, like it's just who you are, it's in your brain. And that part of your brain is evil. And you're taught that part of the brain is trying to ruin you and take you to hell and ruin your family's lives and whatever. So you very early on, at least my experience and from other queer people who have left the church, I feel like have very similar experiences where it's almost a disassociation. You split your life in two. That part of your brain becomes its own world, its own mess, honestly. I moved that part of my life into, it was just all sex. Like, I can't turn that part of my brain off, but that part of my brain is horny. I would just go have sex. I delved deep into a sex addiction, and I was very able to live both lives. I just turned my brain off, and it became so easy to do that I was destroying my life and not giving it a second thought, because that part of my life wasn't connected to any other part of my life. Even if I was doing stuff that could hurt this other part of my life, it was just something that I automatically unplugged and never thought about. The amount of married men, the amount of Christian men, the amount of pastors that I had anonymous sex with.
Really? Pastors?
Yes, Grant. Yes.
Like in our area where we grew up?
Yes. Two specifically I can think of.
We're going to take this offline because I want names.
And sometimes as a teenager, by the way.
Oh, God. We were like laughing and stuff, and then you have to bring up sexual assault.
Trauma. No,
now we're going to have to put a trigger warning on this episode. Thanks a lot, Drew. Thanks a lot.
There should be a trigger warning on every episode.
Yeah, you're a walking trigger warning.
It's just, it's a natural state. It's something you become very, very used to. And I am not at all surprised that when confronted with his wife saying, "You're gay, I'm leaving," I'm not at all surprised that he was like, "Nah, that's not part of this life. I'm going to go get another wife, and I'm going to keep having this life." It does not surprise me at all. That's why
called a beard,
saying,
by the way, Drew. I don't know if you know that, but that's what
is.
we in the gay community call a beard.
Thank you so. I'm learning so much from you, Bottom. Anyway, I that's why she says he's not acting on it. He may not be a sex addict like I was, but he's done something. He's done something. But it's just a very easy thing to do, and the detriment, obviously, it rips you apart. You know, you're constantly into. You can never fully just be yourself, and the actions that you take so carelessly in that cutoff part can have real consequences in your real quote unquote life, which is what happened to me.
Can I ask you a harder question? That was a softball, obviously.
Yeah, I was about to say, was that your easy one?
Whatever.
Sure.
Talk about your trauma, whatever. We do that all the time. Listen, one of the things I'm surprised about with the IMHO and Twinnuendo is how young our audience is. I don't...
No cap.
No cap,
It's because of our Riz.
Ohio.
It's because of all of our
Skibbity,
Riz.
Ohio, I think is what one of my kids said. Oh, did I tell you?
Fortnite.
Hey, sorry, before I ask you the hard question, did I tell you I was walking by Max's room the other night and he was playing video games and I just heard him say, "Come over here, you little fuckers." And yeah, I've never heard him curse ever, especially not drop the F-bomb. So I just open his door and I go, "Hey, bud, what did you just say?" And to his credit, he was honest. He said the F word. And that's when his honesty stopped. And I go, "Yeah, I heard that. How long have you been saying the F word, man?" And he goes, well, just now."
Get it, Max.
And I said,
"Listen,
hang
you
on.
don't have proof. You don't have proof."
I said, so I just happened to be standing here. And the first time you chose to use it, you used it so well. So appropriately, so well. It wasn't awkward at all. I mean, it was well done, son. But it was really funny. And just, it broke Angela's heart because, all parents think that their kids are like these sweet, innocent little angels. And then the minute they show that they're just normal people, a little part of your parent heart dies. I thought it was hysterical that's what I heard him say. But now every time he yells or something, Angela goes, "Did he just call someone a fucker?" I'm like, "I don't know. You should go ask him." He will be honest with one question. You get one question where I'll tell the truth.
You get one honest
Then
answer.
after that. All right, so here's so we've got younger people watching. So I'm sure there are people who were in the spot you were in, who are in a household like ours was, who may even be, conflicted. Like you talked about praying, like, "God, if you change this about me, then you can kill me," or your saintly prayer you used to pray. But you were struggling with who you were and who your family said you should be, or the culture that you were stuck in at Mississippi College. What would you say to somebody who's living in that split reality you used to live in?
I'd probably say, come
Tune in
out,
next
you
week
fuckers.
on Twinnuendo.
You fuckers. Come here, fuckers. That's so hard. That's so tough. Because one thing that I think a lot of people who didn't grow up in this world, it's very easy to look at it with a logical eye and go, well, yeah, here's what you need to do. Just go do this. Like, you disconnect yourself, like, go, when you're in that situation, when you're in this cult, which is what it is, logic really doesn't play a huge role in your everyday life when it comes to morality decisions, because the church tells you one thing to do, no matter how much it makes sense or not, you do it. That's what I'm talking about with like the disconnect of that. So if you're hearing me and you are currently experiencing that, I can only really speak from my experience. Let me do that. In my experience, I did what I had to do because I had no support. I don't love the choices I made, but I also am so happy I survived. And if that's what it took for me to survive, I'm happy I survived. And the shame and the guilt that I had from that, I carried with me deep, deep into my 30s. I would say it's only been the last few years that I've been able to let that part of me go, let that shame and that guilt over me just trying to survive go. I viewed everything that I did to protect myself in this desperate manner. I viewed it as selfish and narcissistic. And there was a time in my 20s where I made an appointment with the therapist because I was sure I was a sociopath. I was sure that I did not have empathy. I was sure of it. Because how could I live that life and do what I was doing and have empathy? Unfortunately, the therapist I went to was not very helpful. I mean, I did find out I had a lot of empathy, too much. In some cases.
I've never seen that side of you. It's so funny to hear you say that.
Oh, I don't like to listen, this is a character. Okay. the empathy thing.
Yeah.
I guess I wish someone had said, like, it's okay. What you did, yeah, you didn't make the best decisions, but I'm so happy you're alive. I'm so sorry you had to do that. That sucks. I could not find empathy for myself. And so I hope that anyone who's living this kind of double life, or anyone that lived a double life that thankfully doesn't have to live that way anymore, you really have to forgive yourself. You really have to show that empathy that I know you show to other people. You have to show it to yourself, truly. That you're not a bad person. You're not an evil person. You were a person put in a situation that felt impossible. And you did the best you could. And the people you hurt along the way, it's up to you. With going to them and trying to make it right, would that cause further pain and damage? Then don't do it. But if you can make amends with them, great. But you're not a monster. You're not a villain. I really thought I was the most evil person in the world. I truly thought I was a super villain. And really, I was just this hurt person trying to live, trying to survive. It's the dichotomy of being a special ed teacher and giving my all to my kids and crying and worrying all the time about them and their families. And then this other disconnected part of me that didn't show empathy to anyone, including myself. It's fucked.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is
bad.
Forgive yourself because we won't. Thank you guys for listening to Twinnuendo. I'm just kidding. We love you. I hope you find a safe space. Maybe our little community can be
We're your
a corner
safe
of
space.
safety. Can be a corner of safety for you.
And never, ever, ever put yourself in a dangerous situation to make amends for whatever that issue was, okay? Like, most importantly, gotta put yourself first, which is not a selfish thing to do. I always thought that'd be so... It's not. You have to take care of yourself. Thank you. I'm done. Okay, goodbye.
And tune in for our new podcast, Drew Talks to Drew, where older Drew talks to younger Drew. The twink and the twunk.
Get that dick out of your mouth and listen to me.
Get it out.
Stop it.
Put it down. I want to say, as we close out, brother, thank you to our Patreon, who you can view your name right here going over Drew's face. It's a great community in there. I love interacting with you. My wife has just recently started commenting in there as well. She's really loving it as well. Quick little preview. In a couple of weeks, we're going to record, or I guess a week or so. We're going to record for Halloween at some point. And when we do... we would love to make that our live episode for our Olsen twin tier patrons. So
you think the Olsens will come?
I think they're always here in some way, I think they're always They're always here. So that episode, we'll send out a link, and you can watch us record live, which is just unedited. There'll be a lot of awkward pauses, a lot of us saying, I don't think you can say that. So that's what you want to see. That's happening. And Drew, our shop is live. The Twinnuendo shop is live. Twinnuendo.com/shop, or just go to Twinnuendo.com, click on the shop. We got t-shirts, we got magnets, coffee mugs, tote bags. That's it.
The box t-shirt, like the crop top shirt, and the pocket shirt. I put both of those in my cart this morning. I just can't decide on a color. I'm leaning towards salmon, okay? But I love cumin. I love cumin.
Cumin's a great one.
Actually, also, Sex Addicted Drew also loved cumin.
Oh, God. Specifically, there was somebody in our Patreon who is the reason we have tote bags. I was asking about all other things, and they said, I'm a real sucker for tote bags. So that's where this tote bag is 50% gay came from. So thank you, that person. I'm sorry, I don't remember who that was exactly. All of that is live, so you guys can go be a part of that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing it with people, and it's a wonderful community that's growing, and hopefully we're helping somebody out there. We got to be, right?
Yeah.
Right? Somebody.
No, not necessarily. All right, we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
It's fun for me. Bye.